My name is Sandra Rowe. I'm the CEO of the Global Blockchain Business Council. This is our 5th UNGA Blockchain Central. We are absolutely, as an organization and a community, focused on supporting the United Nations SDGs, and we're delighted in this segment to talk about food and nutrition. And we're honored to have Andreas Bluethner, who is the director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation nutrition team. And Andreas, it'd be great to have you. And then after that, we'll have Bernhard, but first is Andreas.
Thanks so much. Great to be here and good to see you. Well, the food and nutrition crisis is really around us, and you probably have seen in your own supermarket that oils or flours get more expensive or even short. This problem is much more virulent for people that have a couple of dollars a day. So we have seen edible oil prices at the ground hiking by 500, 600%. That's a disaster for people that cannot afford the right amount of food. Unfortunately, there's a couple of interventions in nutrition that can help to increase the nutritional density and the nutritional intake, and food fortification is one of them. Food fortification, you might know from your home kitchen table, you have iodized salt if you don't have enough iodine in your diet. Then you are lucky because there's other people that don't have enough iron, enough folic, enough vitamin A in their diet, and there's mandates by governments that you have to, as a miller, put some of these nutrients in the staple foods. The basic idea is it doesn't need behavioral change. So people eat staple foods to fill their stomach, and even more, if foods get more expensive, they rely on these calorie-dense staples. But you need micronutrients to survive and thrive in your life. Otherwise, you fall short in productivity, IQ, education, and physical development. Unfortunately, some of these millers are really doing a great job. They reach hundreds of millions of people with their fortified foods, and others are free riding on that. So we have importers or also some millers domestically that just don't add what needs to be added for the population at stake. And our vision at the Gates Foundation, developed with our partners from WFP Innovation Accelerator, is that we would like to trace these micronutrients. A lot has been said about climate, but can we really tokenize the impact of one of the most powerful public health interventions? It has to have a cost benefit of 1 to 30, even much more than vaccination or other interventions. But we need to get it work. And I think the hide and seek game we played with, authorities monitoring millers, doing chemical analysis, finding these micronutrients. It's really, really difficult, costly, and complex. And we propose today, for the first time public, to have a complete digitized system of substituting external quality assurance with self-monitoring of factories producing these foods. And quickly going through that, you see at the bottom of that picture a factory that produces pharma-grade micronutrients. You see a food mill in that square that can monitor the input of micronutrients, the output, the dosing of these micronutrients. And that piece could be tokenized because these micronutrients unfold the impact in the population in terms of the benefits this intervention have. And you see, if you can GPS track where these nutrients go, we potentially could help to make these foods even more affordable. But we really need to know, is it in there? And when we know it's in there and it has impact, another problem with micronutrient deficiencies is it's very invasive, very costly, very static to really define who is deficient. So if you go to your doctor and you get a blood sample on your vitamin D status, which might be a good idea in this time of the year, he takes blood. But do that on a population level on 5 micronutrients, it costs millions, it takes really a long time. Can we use AI and machine learning to work with proxy indicators? Because poverty is very equivalent to malnutrition. We have geospatial data in the agricultural community, which is much more advanced than the nutrition community in digitization. So can we have dynamic maps like the World Hunger Map Live, but on micronutrients that shows us, for example, in Nigeria, in the northeastern part, there's a heat map being very red. And if an oil company or a flour company delivers fully fortified foods to this part of the region, could we see a live battle of the solution battling against the problem on that map? And how can government and public sector work together? Because authorities have connected devices to kind of join that battle. So we really want to make hidden hunger a term that is history, because we want to make it transparent. you want to make it traceable, and eventually tokenize it so that investors like us also have a better experience in really seeing what's happening, not relying on paper reports of somebody reporting from the country what's going on. That's my proposal for today. I'm here for questions. I have little analog scribbles, and you see I'm coming from a different world also with my tie here, but I'm here to learn also and dialogue. Thank you very much.
But I'm asking a question from my previous work in CGIAR, which is a global agricultural research organization. I love this idea of tracing the micronutrients, and I think a lot of foods that are potentials there may come from good research. Would you also trace things that have been modified, or because maybe that customs area would require to have information on, is it naturally micronutrient rich, or is it enhanced vitamin A rich, like, for example, rice? Would this also have the idea of carrying along that information so that it could easily be traded across borders and get to those people? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. That's really a great one. This intervention is not about genetically modified plants and agricultural intervention. It's about the simple addition of pharma-grade micronutrients you can buy in every pharmacy, but you make it kind of functional food for the poor, if I may say so. And I think on the data side, you see up there picturing the problem. There's good reasons we would love to look in household data, intake data. So how much do people take in? It depends on the soil quality, depends on the quality of the diet. This is very, very complex. I mean, go to households, interview people. Even the quality of the data is sometimes not there because people don't remember necessarily what they've eaten over the last months. So it's really the most complex data set you can imagine, but I think there's a lot of correlating data. And if you could get really the cutting edge machine learning people and the human intelligence behind the artificial intelligence and the machine learning, I'm very optimistic that we could create let's say proxy sets we can leverage and let run against the primary data sets we have. And we financed complete national surveys of micronutrient deficiency in Ethiopia and Nigeria. So these data sets are brand new. So we believe with WFP and the World Hunger Map team, we can really kind of train these models to then guide us dynamically, statically, and even give us forecasts. I mean, the next drought is coming, the climate panel we had before. Could we really forecast where the next, let's say, hunger catastrophe is looming, and then respond much earlier with targeted interventions? Thank you.
Bernhard. Many of you know him. He's the head of the World Food Program's Innovation Hub. And if we can get him back, we are very, very excited to launch a new initiative. For those who are not aware, GBBC Giving is a C3 charitable entity of the Global Blockchain Business Council. And in partnership, Bernhard's going to talk about our latest initiative around food. Thank you, Bernhard. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Sandra. And it's also, of course, great to come here after Andreas, because we're working on this tokenization idea, but also what you're going to see here is exactly one of those aspects that, sometimes we're talking about. And actually this comes from, I would say, years of working together, exploring things, and just most recently, at the annual blockchain summit with the GBBC, we were thinking about what could be moonshots that bring the world to the next level. And this is where the Food for Crisis Web3 initiative is coming from. And the basic idea, and Andreas was mentioning this already before, is we are facing one of the worst humanitarian crises since World War II. So you're seeing that, for instance, the number of acutely hungry people. So these are people who are at risk of dying from hunger, like, famine-like situations, has gone up from like 135 million people to 345 million people just right now. And the drivers of that, of course, as we heard, is climate change, conflicts, the pandemic, but also inflation, fuel prices, and food price increases. This is something that's really, really hitting some of the most vulnerable people again, that already have been vulnerable before, or that may have been just getting by. And so like, this is where I think we just need to also make sure that we are reaching those most vulnerable. Now, why the World Food Program? World Food Program, if you don't know us, we're a United Nations entity reaching about 128 million people in 120 countries and territories. Now, I lead our World Food Program Innovation Accelerator, our global innovation hub or center, if you want, including, like, we've supported an initiative called Building Blocks that uses blockchain wallets. It's now reaching more than 1 million people already. They can go into stores and purchase food with blockchain wallets. Right now, we've transferred over $400 million of cash using that tool. And then, of course, GBBC, you're here right now for the event, like, GBBC. And the idea is, how can we bring the best of the field presence of the World Food Program, also like what can we do with Web3 together, and address some of those challenges that the community has. Specifically, when you think about the crypto, but also Web3 community, there's 3 problems. The first is, even if people are interested, like, they don't know what has the biggest impact. Should I focus on one problem or the other, or where should we even start? The second aspect is about control. If I donate money, I would want to also be able to influence what that money is being used for, and not just vanish in some obscure funding allocation that I never hear about anymore what it's being used for. And the last piece about trust and transparency. We heard this earlier on, like, it's one of the key aspects why Web3 and blockchain have advantages over other technologies. Now, World Food Program has already implemented certain things, like Hunger Map Live shows real-time hunger stats in over 90 countries. There's the Share the Meal app, which I actually co-founded, that actually already lets you choose. But then, why don't we bring all of that together into the next level? And this is where the Food for Crisis Web3 initiative comes from into play. The vision here is really to launch a $1 billion Food for Crisis fund with $500 million going into wherever the need is the greatest, and $500 million for innovations or sustainably ending hunger, that uses scientifically proven real-time data to provide choices for donors, that allows you control, trust, and transparency on the decisions where, for instance, those cash-based transfers are being used, or grant investments for innovations, and will complement those data with blockchain and central systems with monitoring and evaluation data, and partners that are external. And summarizing that also with a global awareness campaign across the crypto space with, environmental and also social enthusiasts. And what could be the impact of that? Just taking or thinking about it, like, the World Food Program in 2021 reached 128 million people with a budget of about $9 billion. So the $500 million would provide life-saving food assistance to about 7.2 million people. Similarly, the $500 million in innovation sustainably ending hunger, you just heard it, like, there's like this multiplier effect that you have, either by startups, you create more jobs, you lift people out of hunger, like things that, may have a small investment can have a multiplier effect that actually, like, mushroom into a lot more impact going forward. And the way forward for this is like, okay, there was an ideation. I have to say, with Sandra, the GBBC, and a lot of partners have already come, to the stage that actually said, like, we like this idea. We want to be part of this and help actually make this a reality. We are aiming for having a first pilot ready in mid-2023 with a pilot of $100 million to launch in 2024 and scaling then to $1 billion, assuming it's going to be successful, which I hope it will be. And now I'll hand over to Sandra, I believe, who is just going to mention how can you as a community get involved. Sandra, I'll give the word to you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm back again. Thank you, Bernhard. And we're very proud to participate and obviously partner on this incredibly important initiative. I think one of the things that I'd like to impress upon those who are interested, first of all, you can go to either the World Food Program Innovation Accelerator, Bernhard, and to the GBBC to get information. So you could go to either entity. The main focus, I would say, is not only the raise funds in fiat and crypto, but also the tracking and tracing. We talk a lot about tracking donor funds. Well, let's do it at scale, and let's do it for real. And let's bring in the engaging tools that we all know we could use, community tokens, NFTs. We want to create an ability to basically do also hunger data innovation. This is a mass data, let's get smarter based on what the World Food Program already has. And who knows, we may actually throw up even more interesting places where data lies and it's not being underutilized or can be utilized to actually be smarter about decisions and forecasting. Andreas and Bernhard both mentioned we need to get better at forecasting when there's going to be a crisis. So this is all possible. If we can put people into space and do all kinds of amazing imagery coming from very, very far away in the world, we can solve what's an immediate problem today. No child, no person should be starving to death. That is just unacceptable, and we as a society need to say no. And the blockchain community in particular can do a lot here. Just because we're tech doesn't mean that we're not also citizens who can do good. And so our view is let's use our brain power. Let's use our resources, and whether it's crypto or fiat, we don't care. And the hours and the volunteer hours that we are going to donate, let's do this together. We're also activating universities around the world to support. There's nothing better than getting a lot of young people energized to figure out solutions as well. So Bernhard, I think we'll take one question if there is one in the audience. Otherwise, have a thought, come back to us, and get involved. Any questions? Everyone's thinking really hard. Okay. Well, Bernhard, I'm going to thank you for your time. I wish you were with us, but at some point we will convene in person. But the beauty of what we now have in technology is Bernhard can sit in Munich comfortably and join us. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you,
thank
Bernhard.
you so much. And thank you, everybody.